r/askreddit. VR now allows you to sell your experiences to others. Which memories would you put up for sale? Swimming with seals was exactly as cool as you would imagine it to be. Bro, ask Bin Laden. Being around seals isn't fun. I'd be afraid to lose a hand. My dad telling me how proud of me he is. Edit. I want you all to know I may not be your father, but I can be your daddy. And I want you to know how proud I am of all of you. This is something lots of people need to experience but never will. I had to put my childhood pup to sleep when I was in 6th grade. A few months later I had a vivid dream playing with him and having as much fun as possible cause I knew he had to leave again soon. It was a great way to say goodbye. Edit. Thank you for the gold, kind strangers. The replies to this are all so beautiful and they all show how important family pets are and the losses we face eventually. Everyone gets to say their goodbyes in many ways, even if it's not face to face. Bro, you're not just gonna make us all cry like that. The fuck? The same happened to me with my dogs and after my dad died. The weird thing is that I too knew in my dreams that it was like some goodbye until we meet again. However, I once cut my super long hair super short and I missed it a bit. Few days later I dreamt of combing my long hair. Was also kinda nice. D. Edit. As many share more detailed versions of their dreams, I also want to add a bit. My dogs died both of cancer and both times I dreamt of playing with them. My dad's dream was completely different though. He died after a long suffering of cancer. It was truly heartbreaking to watch him fade. In my dream I went to visit him and I entered the kitchen where he usually would sit at the table. I was so surprised to see him in this dream because he looked way better, spoke clearly and simply looked healthy. I sat down and without me asking he just said something like I feel way better again. Then we happily chatted about some random things until I woke up. This is very comforting to me knowing that he's well and okay now. My mom always said those dreams are just their way of checking in to tell you they made it to the other side, and they are okay. My animals always come back in dreams, unexpectedly. Last summer I had to put down my beloved British Bombay, Simon. He was an angel. All he wanted in the world was to curl up on a warm lap and purr. A week ago I was driving across the US and having some unusual dreams related to driving. One night I dreamt I was in an Airbnb with a group of people smoking a joint. Then I looked down, and there was my beloved Simon, sprawled across my stomach with his paws wrapped around my waist, purring and snoozing. Just like he did in real life. I like to imagine he misses living with me so much that he still tries to do just that from the other side. I got a hole in one while golfing. It was awesome. I would definitely sell that. Did you look around for 10 minutes trying to find the ball? I've gotten several holes in one. I even had to the same game once. But I only mini golf, so it's not the same. Congrats on your big golf accomplishment. I'd share the best concert I ever played with my old band. It was a super fun night and we got really good reception. We were never even moderately big, but that was the biggest we felt. I'm not one to live in the past, but man I crave that feeling every now and then. I feel this wholeheartedly. My band played so many local shows at VFWs and dive bars where nobody gave a shit about what was going on, or stayed outside smoking until their friends' bands came on. It was awful. But those few shows where we played decent venues with good crowds and got amazing reactions. I'd pay good money to have that feeling again. I think there'd be a real market for sporting victories. The rush of winning a big race game in the midst of the total agony of giving every last ounce of effort is a unique euphoria. I think people would pay handsomely to experience that. Or the opposite. Like if I was Bill Buckner, I would sell my missed grounder memory and people would be like, damn, that did take a weird hop. I have experienced gold medal speed skiers from a first person point of view in 3D VR. I am a pretty good snowboarder. I can hit the hardest trails at any mountain I have ever been to, but goddamn did that give me a new respect for the sport and these athletes. The video starts, and he just starts moving a little faster and faster. About 30 seconds and I am thinking alright, I could do that. But they continue to get faster and faster for like a straight 3 minutes. You see them hit maybe 90 miles an hour or something like that and their legs start to shake and you nope right out of the headset. This is what I came to say. I'm 11 years old. First soccer tournament out of state. I play goalie. We're in the tournament finals. We are winning 2-1. The referee calls a penalty kick as time expires. He tells us this will be the last play of regulation. Cue butterflies. I stare down this other 11-year-old kid. Referee checks with me and asks if I'm ready. I'm ready. He blows the whistle and the attacker approaches the ball. I feint left and take a side step in that direction. Striker places the ball just off center to the right. I OST my way back to the right and make a diving save while catching the ball. Game. Blouses. I run to midfield with the rest of my team amidst adolescent screams of joy and jumping around, finally burying me under the pile. It was awesome. I still remember it vividly. I'm 35 now. Musical performances from the artist's POV would be intoxicating as well. I'm not a hugely successful musician, but I've commanded the attention of several hundred people at once and the experience is nothing less than divine. Seriously. It's the most exquisite high imaginable when people sing along to the words you wrote. My dreams. Last night I befriended a serial killer and just evaded being murdered the whole dream. Get your popcorn. You dreamt you were Lorne Michaels. I would sell the dreams I have where I'm supposed to be somewhere but I keep getting held up and never make it. Or the classic one where I'm in high school or college and realize I haven't been attending one of my classes for the entire semester. The last one of these I had, it was the realization that I hadn't been to any of my classes. You want to rent a terrifying VR experience? Last night I, M48, dreamed that I showed up for an important exam, only to find out it had been given as a take-home and everyone was just there to turn it in. I sat there watching everyone else stand up and file down the aisles to leave it with the professor, while I silently freaked out. 20 plus years after I graduated, and it was a total nightmare that scared me way worse than any scary nightmares ever do. I woke up gritting my teeth and sweating with anxiety. I swear that I have PTSD from high school college. I met this girl once as youth camp counselors one summer. I asked her out after the first week was over. We went out a few times. Then we took a picnic up a nearby canyon and just kind of lazed about on a big old blanket from my parents' house. I decided it was time for a DTR, define the relationship. I asked her, hey, so I'm in, like, total likage with you here. How are you feeling? I'm in total likage with you, too. She became my girlfriend. I would share that moment when she said she liked me back using the same awkward, dorky language I used. Then we just laid on the blanket, held hands, and stared at the clouds together for about an hour. Pure bliss. We've now been married for 11 years and have 4 amazing kids together and are currently building our dream house. Can I VR into your whole life please? This is so cute. This almost makes me not want to kill myself. Snorkeling in Hanoma Bay in Hawaii. Initially, my wife and I went with the intent of staying an hour or two, having a picnic while we dried off, then hiking up Diamond Head. I felt like a kid again looking at all the pretty fish. My wife got out first and I just did not want to stop. We decided to come back again on one of our last days and spend all day there. Damn, that was a good day. I'd buy that. The day we went they closed the beach due to all the jellyfish breeding. I went snorkeling on my honeymoon in Key West, but I have a terrible fear of fish and extremely sensitive motion sickness. It was a little choppy that day, so I ended up vomiting in the sea 4 or 5 times while clinging to my husband and trying the doggy paddle back to the boat. He had to blow up my vomit covered life vest so that I could float. 3/10 probably wouldn't do again. I did the same thing when I went to Hawaii with my family. I enjoyed it so much when we went that I managed to convince my parents to go back again on one of the last days. I sat next to Quentin Tarantino in a theater at one of the first screenings of the Edgar Wright movie The World's End, and for the subsequent Q&A with Wright, Peg and Frost. He was very animatedly laughing and loving it the entire time. As a movie dork, that was a pretty once in a lifetime experience. That's awesome. Where was the theater located? I watched the, maybe premiere, of Mom and Dad where Nick Cage was a few rows away. He laughed hysterically at scenes he was in. It made the experience even better. Seems like a really cool quirky guy. Truly a once upon a time in Hollywood experience. Dying and coming back to life after 4 minutes of being clinically deceased. Truly an experience. Can we get a free trial version? Drowning in a pool and being pulled out and having CPR done to you seems like it would be close. Wouldn't recommend. Might be helpful for first responders training though. Cause I remember jumping in after a floaty and that just sort of being it. Not being able to hold my breath, and no matter how hard I jumped off the bottom I couldn't reach the surface. Sort of blacked out after that and don't actually remember anything about my aunt supposedly saving me. Having a snowball fight at the North Pole while standing next to nuclear submarine. Attending a cookout atop the same submarine while traversing the Panama Canal. Scuba diving in Guam. Snow skiing Black Diamonds in Jackson Hole. Navy will buy the first 2 for advertising. So, were those amazing memories worth joining the Navy? Not as wild as some of the others, but I'd sell the memory of a summer I had when I was 16. My parents were away and I had the apartment to myself for an entire summer. There were 2 huge groups of friends I hung out with, among whom were a few real, solid buddies that I'd known my whole life and a few others less permanent but very cool and funny individuals. My best friend and I dated a pair of best friends, and while I liked my girl enough I wasn't head over heels, and so had fun without any of the ensuing drama. She felt more or less the same way. The weekends were basically 48 hours of non-stop partying and hanging out. Feels like I saw the sunrise every day. Not a fucking care in the world. I think about it a lot now, decades later. I've got a great family and a good job, but man do I miss that freedom. As someone who is going on 16 soon, wish I could experience something like that. I don't have any close friends, mostly just acquaintances. It sounds like you had an awesome time. Can I ask what your parents did that they had to travel? No one in my town really travels much. My family is the only on that regularity goes anywhere, and even still if my parents had to go somewhere they would drag us along with them. All the times I banged 10/10 super hot chicks. People will quickly ask for a refund when they get just a black screen. Mine would just show up's mom. The time I went to a paranormal circus. It was fantastic. A red and black tent popped up in the mall parking lot overnight and advertised a weekend-long paranormal circus. I couldn't find anyone to go with me so I went by myself. It was so much fun. They had zombie nurses running the snack stand, light up creepy masks and costumes for sale. Everyone was dressed like dark steampunk. When they opened the gates to get into the main tent we had to go through an area with open cages to signify the monsters had been let out or something. I got directed to my seat by a lady and as I walked down the corridor to the main tent, a man with underbite fangs and a jungle cannibal style costume started chasing after me with a chainsaw. Haha. Hey, that's one way to get people in. When I got there I had semi-front row seating, not right at the stage, but the row behind those, right on the walkway near the action and face to face with the performers. Chainsaw Dude apparently liked me because he jumped on the seat next to mine and yelled out the show was starting. There were nicely dressed vampires handing out light up cups full of slushies and bags of cotton candy. Ick now, the good stuff. Then a hooded dude with a demon's voice came on stage and announced that if anyone there was scared of the dark to leave then and there. Well, with that the show began, and a tiny clown in bloodstained clothes came on the stage. The rest of the show was amazing. Scares, stunts, girls in spiked boxes escaping, people in boxes being set on fire, creepy mimes, people being volunteered to perform questionable acts. At one point one guy was doing flips on this huge spinning rod in the air and almost fell twice. I'll admit, I screamed. 11/10 would go back again, but it was a one-time random thing in our small town. Sounds like the night circus. You'd probably enjoy that book. I'm a dentist. I think everyone should have the experience of taking out someone else's tooth when they are totally and completely numb. The patient is numb or you're numb? This is the most unsettling comment I've seen so far. I would sell a typical day of me walking through my city. It would allow people to see what life is like from the perspective of a dwarf. You'd get to see how it feels when everyone and everything towers over you, and experience how inaccessible so many places are. And of course, How much unwanted attention you get from strangers. The photographs taken of you. The pointing, staring and comments. Maybe schools could use it to help kids empathize with people who are different. Likewise, from the perspective of a wheelchair. Lyme disease and babesiosis put me in one for a long time. I'm super outgoing and it amazed me how ignored I suddenly became. Serving staff at restaurants, etc., wouldn't make eye contact or always speak to me directly. You better believe that I go out of my way to do so with others in that position now. My first DMT trip and I would buy it from myself so I could remember it better. I'm surprised more of these answers aren't drug experiences. This scenario is a great workaround for a lot of issues surrounding drugs. Drugs aren't legal? Just buy the experience. Can't find drugs, don't know people? Just buy the experience. Wanna try meth but don't want to get addicted and ruin your body? Just buy the experience. Already doing drugs but your tolerance is too high? Just buy the experience. The video game career experience. All the marketing material for this experience would make it sound fun. Talking about how you can live your dream job through VR, creating awesome games for people all around the world. You start playing the experience. For the first few hours it's bliss and everything seems great. Then after the first few hours something seems off. Your bosses are mentally abusive, work conditions decline, your estimates are cut in half and deadlines are impossible to hit, your community bashes you, sends you death threats, and flames you for decisions that were made above your head in which you have zero input. I think this is the natural progression of video games. 1980s, you paid quarters to play games. 1990s, you bought a system to play physical games. 2000s, mostly still 90s shit, but you also downloaded games. 2010s, physical games start to go away, you download stream games, but there's a huge rise in watching people play the games. 2020s, you pay into a Patreon to watch game developers struggle to make a game. 2030s, watching machines make the iPhone 50 is all the rage. The day I, a grown-ass adult man, hid in the back corner of a gas station parking lot, leaning against the rear wheel of my car, crying as softly as I could to myself for 5 to 10 minutes. It won't sell well, but I'll at least have a handy reference of how lonely, isolated, sad, and pathetic I felt at the time and many others besides. But that one stands out as a low point among low points, so it's the one that gets used. Some people have never been there, never will be, and as a result, I don't believe they can ever understand what it's like. It's not their fault they have people who love and support them, nor is it their fault that, as a result, they haven't had that first-hand experience. But now they can at least see what it's like. This is heartbreaking. Might I ask what built up to that moment? When my daughter was 3, dressed in a Snow White costume, watering the flowers in our garden and talking to the flowers. My overall best memory. The only thing I would care to remember when I die. It brings tears to my eyes just by mentioning it. Dude, I was never an emotional guy until I had a daughter. The other night she was sleeping on my chest. Woke up in a daze, stared straight into my eyes with a little smile for a few seconds, said I love you daddy, then fell back asleep. I thought about it later that night and just broke down in tears. I'll never forget that moment. So wholesome. I hope your daughter knows she's your best memory. Sex with Arp's mom, obviously. Everyone's got a memory of that. Probably combat related trauma. I'm good without it. Figure there is probably some Halo playing dumb shit who thinks it would be cool to experience real life combat without having to actually enlist. Have at it, bro. I've seen more than 100 bands live. I'd probably share those. Holding my 2 pounds preemie daughter for the first time. Want a fresh perspective on life? That'll give you one. This moment in time is the beginning to the movie Strange Days. Hiking the Appalachian Trail. For an educational purpose, all my memories of being abused so that others may learn what the signs are, to better understand how to escape before it gets dangerous too. I've had some wild sex. Death sellers. I feel like the market would be hugely oversaturated in no time flat. You'd have to be into some freaky shit to make a living. My first memory. I was less than 2 years old back in India. My uncle came to my village. I packed all my stuff from the daycare center and ran towards our house screaming, "Mira mama, uncle from the mother's side, Agaya, my uncle is here." I'd like for people to see where I grew up and experience how it looked in rural India, 90s. Plus I'd like to revisit everything once in a while because a lot has changed in that exact place. My favorite band had me get up and play drums with them. I was like 15 and I pretty much nailed it. As a musician, it's a once in a lifetime that everyone dreams of. Will that memory then be removed from my brain? Because in that case I'm going to record the 1.5 years I spent in Little Hell aka British boarding school and smash the disc into little bits and then burn the pieces. Fuck putting someone else through the experience of not having a single body part that hasn't been groped or grabbed against your will and hearing the taunts and heckling 13 years later. Worse still, believing them even though you don't want to. Of knowing what it's like for your legs to be held so you can't get away while someone else shoves their fingers into you through your underwear. At least all will be quiet soon. Parents, teach your children the importance of being rude, of saying no, of speaking out when you're uncomfortable whether or not it might hurt the other person's feelings. Even more importantly, demonstrate it in your life. I grew up watching my mother agree to stuff that made her really unhappy to please other people, so I feared saying no. I was told to always look on the bright side, so I didn't know how to complain, how to express unhappiness. The experience of a false rape accusation. It's something people don't understand the severity of often, in my opinion. It ended in me almost ending my life. I'd give orphans my vacations with my parents. Some of the bad ones. To give people the opportunity to understand what it is like to be on the receiving end. The day I met my kitty, Luna. She passed away a year ago now, but I still cherish that moment deeply. It would be awesome if someone else could feel how happy I felt when it happened. It was a one in a lifetime experience.